Alright, here we go. So this is going to be another Spellforce 3 replay cast. This is going to be a matchup from the loser's bracket, the first round of the loser's bracket. And this is going to be between Saturas and Scrangos. So this is game one, and this is going to be on Ancient City. So let's get into it. Alright, so we've got Saturas as the orange Dwarves. And we've got Scrangos as the purple Dark Elves. So Scrangos is going for the Guardian of Nor, and Saturas is going for the High Hierophant. And it looks like he's going for a more economy or macro-oriented build, or start, I should say, going with 4 stonecutters and 1 hunt. Sometimes you'll see dwarf players go with 3 stonecutters and 2 hunt, and go for some more axe wielders early on. Scrangos is going for 1, 2, 3 woodcutters and a hunting cabin, so pretty standard openings from both players. Tarantulas help him with creeping. Mole Riders and the Mole Rider and the Spectre are both going forward. Spectre got a bit of a head start there. Okay, so Saturas is using the Totem of Flames. Scrangos got what is that ability called? I actually don't know what that ability is called.
I am still here. Mind
Invasion, okay. So Scrangos got the Mind Invasion off on the High Hierophant, just to slow down that creep pathing a little bit. Have the Axe Wielder and the Mole Rider. That's probably going to get picked off, especially since the Mole Rider is getting slow on it now. So that's unfortunate, losing some map vision there, but both players are doing so far the same creep pathing, where you go to the front sector and then go diagonal to the sector across the wall from your main, and we'll see where they go from there. So Scrangos is going straight down, so looking to take some experience from Saturas. And what is Saturas going to do? Saturas is going to go with I guess what would be more standard, and sticking on his side of the map. Looks like he'll lose 1 camp worth of zombies, so depending on what the reaction to this is, Scrangos might get the experience lead. Is this? Okay, I can't tell. This does not look like it's giving the normal amount of vision. Not sure if the Mole Rider is not counting as on that tower yet. Both heroes hitting level 3. Looks like Scrangos was able to get that full camp. Now, yep, he is going to use the Godstone. And unfortunately for Saturas, Scrangos has the ability to take the Godstone right back. Looks like he'll hit the shop and then go straight across, whereas Saturas is going to have to run the whole way. So it's interesting. If the other player happens to go diagonally, you're basically guaranteed to be able to go straight down and take this corner camp of zombies, it seems, as opposed to if Saturas had gone straight to the left. Now that's, this is one of those things where just playing games and seeing how things play out, especially if you're watching a replay of your own games, you'll get some knowledge about, what paths take how much time and where you can afford to go based on what your opponent is doing. And losing the Spectre there may have had an influence on that, So, although I guess what I mean is that if Saturas had the Mole Rider and saw what Scrangos was doing, as opposed to going after the Spectre with the Mole Rider, maybe he would have known that this sector was going to get taken. He could have redirected himself quicker. I originally was saying that as if losing the Spectre hurts Scrangos as far as getting experience, but that was not the case. Now, Saturas did take that flagpole from Scrangos. He is upgrading this sector, so let's see if he's able to get this up. 50%. This is going to go down. I'm quite sure. Yeah, it's not going up. Alright, so good pressure from Saturas. I wonder if Scrangos could have stayed around and maybe gotten like one pick off even there. But gonna fight for this. And at this point, I think you abandon ship if you're Scrangos and go elsewhere, because just taking the damage, let's say he does stop this from upgrading, just taking the damage from these axe wielders, the High Hierophant, and the Mole Rider, it's not worth using the potions that you're gonna have to you know, consume in order to stay alive. And this might be a death now, because with the Mole Rider and doing that chain slow, it's gonna be hard to get out of there. You know, even if you break free of the slow, the Mole Rider is going to catch up to you and just do the same again. So unfortunately, the Guardian of Nor goes down there. Let's check skill builds and items. Lost the Axe Wielder, looked like down there. So what do we got here? No item pickups from Saturas yet. 2 Brute Force, 1 Deep Water, Totem of Flames like we've seen, Kill Shot, Bone Breaker, and Scattershot Ammunition. And for Scrangos, 2 Brute Force, 1 Blocking Momentum, 1 Deep Waters, Debilitating Blow, Soul Explosion, and Soul Transformation. And then for items, picked up a level 3 shield, but it looks like he's forgotten to equip it. That's a pretty common thing for people to go to the shop and pick up some new items and just forget to actually click the button to equip them. I wonder if it would make sense for the game to have an option set where you can automatically equip, you know, a recently purchased item, because, you know, there's no circumstance where you're going to buy a new set of armor or a new weapon and not want to equip it. You're always going to be buying the next tier. So, but having it not that way just kind of increases the skill cap on the game, where you got to make sure you're attentive to that stuff. So I guess as Nakamura and Mad Hat say, hashtag no equip for now. Now, both players are picking off Medusa camps. Scrangos does not have much damage output because his hero's on level 3 and he's only got 2 tarantulas, and it looks like both of them are going to die unless he does some pullback micro. A couple more on the way, but if Saturas runs straight across, which is he's making the right move in doing so, I would say he'll be able to get some experience at least off of one of these, maybe even 2. Especially with the rate that Scrangos is able to do damage. Again, if he had a couple, say like 4 infiltrators out or so, maybe it would be a different story, but just doesn't have too much damage output. This is an interesting layout. The map kind of got split vertically. Normally on Ancient City, you're going to see it split horizontally as far as which player has which sectors. But looking a little bit different here. And yep, Saturas has arrived. Scrangos did well to grab this flag and upgrade it in the midst of taking this creep camp, and that's going to help him push Saturas off sooner if he's able to do so. Good job taking down the Totem of Flames. I'm not sure if he knew that was going to happen when he did Soul Explosion, that it would hit the totem as well after it had already been hit once, but that worked out well. I'd like to check experience in a second and see where both players are at, given the Scrangos took excuse me, a zombie camp from Saturas, and how the Medusa camps got split. But Saturas is going to back up for now. The High Hierophant's pretty low health, and doesn't have enough units to take this frontier post yet. If this was a scouting post, it might be a different story, but Scrangos upgraded right away. I like that play. Making sure that he's securing this, and this is a valuable sector. And Scrangos is keeping on the move. Saw those tarantulas and was, you know, about to chase after them, but I guess he figured they were going to be getting away regardless. So instead of going for those picks, moving elsewhere. And he was going for this front sector. Now this is interesting. I wonder if it would be better to go for, I guess it's kind of hard to say, depending on what your vision has showed you as far as map intelligence. you know, any sector that's a fortified outpost right now, you can see how much damage they're doing to the axe wielders. Now, an important thing to note here is that the axe wielders have negative magic resistance, and the dark elves, their sector centers deal magic damage. So, for a dwarf army to lay siege to a sector center, and I'll keep track of this, but it looks like there's also some action going on down here. Scrangos is keeping them off the iron, it looks like, which is a good move on his part. Both players looking to apply pressure. Now Scrangos is going to port back here. And Saturas, in return, teleported now. Going left. I would prefer to go to this sector if I'm Saturas. Now the reason I say that is two things. This sector is only wooden food, so it does not have any rare resources. Probably want to place that totem back on this side also, just to keep it, give it a little bit more time to shoot. But trying to kind of balance giving analysis here and watching the fights play out. The reason, oh my god, that soul explosion just does so much damage. The magic damage from heroes makes such a big difference when you have these axe wielders with negative magic resistance. I feel like if you have someone who's going heavy tier 1 as a dwarf, you just put points into brute force and try to get damage spells. Because, I mean, you can see axe wielders, man, they're really taking a beating from that Guardian of North. But, okay, so the point I was trying to make was I would rather go to this sector, not only because it has stone and iron, more specifically iron, but also because this Godstone means that when you started applying pressure here and you teleported out and went to apply pressure elsewhere, there's another Godstone one sector away from this. So all it took for Scrangos, after having burned his teleport, because remember he teleported from this area over to here, he's not punished by using that teleport because he can just run to the Godstone and react to this. If you teleport from here to the same sector and then go north and put pressure on this, not only do you have the ability to pressure the iron mines if you want to do so, for Scrangos, he's either going to have to choose, do I run or do I take the Godstone from here to here and then run all the way up here to react to that? So just a thought on army movement and what kind of locations you're picking to attack in reaction to your enemy's response. Because, you know, obviously that teleport that Scrangos made was a response to, okay, or excuse me, I'm not sure if having two S names in here is kind of confusing me here, but the teleport that Saturas did in response to Scrangos coming back to defend, you know, took him to a point where he had these options. And I did like that he teleported out and started applying pressure elsewhere, but might have got some more damage done up here. Now, looks like I've been kind of, you know, talking that thought as there's some other stuff going on. It looked like Scrangos was sending tarantulas around and is still doing so to apply pressure to iron mines, which I do like to see. Anytime you can get a few spare units onto a rare resource of your opponent, that's definitely a plus. Now Saturas, in response, I guess saw him doing it the first time and left some axe wielders around. So this is just another one of those situations where you can see the benefit of not using the select all military units command all the time, because if you have someone who's harassing iron deposits, which is very, very common at a higher level of gameplay, being able to respond to that without putting your whole army out of position is an important habit. Now both players seem like they're a little bit caught on what to do here, although Scrangos is now on the move with his main force. He's tier 2. You can see he's starting to get iron. Saturas has been tier 2, but you can see the sleepers out on the field. I'm going to be curious to see what units Saturas goes for. I would like to see in this kind of situation, because of the lack of pressure he's been able to put on sector centers, I would almost like to see Saturas go for maybe a single granite hall, 1 or 2 more charburners, and to try to get some fire golems and get their siege upgrade. I forget, I think the stance is, I think it's called Volcano Stance or something like that. Is an upgrade that's going to allow them to deal long distance siege damage, and I think that will keep, you know, these tier 1 units. Oh wow, looks like Saturas is tier 3, so yeah, he is, because he's got berserkers. But the reason I'm saying I would like to see Volcano Stance and fire golems is you can keep your low magic resist units, and even berserkers have less magic resist than anything else. You can keep them away from the sector center and from taking free shots from it, and you can force the Dark Elf player, Scrangos in this situation, to come out and chase you down, basically, and start the army-to-army engagement. So now Scrangos is applying the pressure on this frontier post, and I'll be curious to see which player hits level 5 first. I did say that I was going to check experience levels earlier, but I have not gotten around to doing so. I feel like there's just a lot to talk about in this match, because both players are being pretty active, and yeah, it's just interesting to analyze all the different moves that they're making here. So let's do that real quick. So almost level 5 for Saturas, almost level 5 for Scrangos, a very slight lead. I wish I'd have gotten a look at that earlier to see what the outcome was after the Medusa camps had been taken, so we could get an earlier insight into that, but we're here now. So populations are dead even, 112 on both players. Saturas is going to have to expand some of his economy in order to be able to continue recruitment, because he's getting close to that pop cap. Scrangos has got a pretty good amount of food to spend. So, alright, porting in to defend. And just judging by the damage output, it looks like Saturas is just committing to going for the sector center. I don't know if this is worth it, but let's see how this plays out. Scrangos hits 5 first, and caught between decisions, it seems. Saturas is going to pour it out, but on the bright side, he took down the border fortress, so that's big. The problem is Scrangos has the amount of the amount of resources necessary, and seemingly the income necessary, to just continuously re-upgrade this, and I don't think he's going to take much of a hit from it. I do like that the iron mine production has been stopped from that, but Saturas lost a decent amount of population. You know, now that I'm looking at this, it's only 20 less than what it was earlier, but I think some of this was recruitment that was getting backfilled during the combat. But it seemed like he took a pretty good amount of damage there. And you can see there's a lot of corpses on the ground. Kind of hard to count them with all these guys running all over, but it looks like around like maybe 15 units lost or so there. Quick check back on items. Saturas, level 3 weapon, level 2 armor, and 3 fire orbs. Gotta equip those. So same thing from both players. Scrangos still hasn't equipped the level 3 shield. But again, this has been a pretty action-packed game, so I'm not too surprised that both players are forgetting to do that. They've both been, you know, kind of taking turns applying pressure to each other, harassing each other's economy. Scrangos probably doing some more economic harassment, but Saturas always looking to hit sector centers. I like the addition of these plague beetles. I think that sleepers and plague beetles is where you go right now. You're gonna need some more iron income to make that work. But the magic damage from the plague beetles, especially if they get the upgrade and do the splash damage, with the sleepers keeping the front line, you know, held down, I think that could be pretty powerful for Scrangos. But let's see. Looks like he might take another border fortress. Saturas might. Yep, he does so. Scrangos had a couple of units that looked like they might have been inactive on the back, although maybe they were just attacking units that were running by from Saturas' recruitment. But Scrangos is definitely on the population advantage. I don't know if he's on the way to tier 3, whereas Saturas has been tier 3 for some time. But I guess because he teched into that earlier, Saturas was not able to continue his production at the same level. Now, if we look at the map here, it seems as though both players might benefit from putting some more resources into upgrading their sectors. So we're 20 minutes in and not a lot of border fortresses yet. Still some frontier posts and scouting posts. And excuse me for missing that, but I figured Saturas was just going to port out anyways. He was kind of just running from Scrangos' army. And again, like, this is not... I shouldn't say this is not a scary army, but this is a lot of tarantulas. So this kind of reminds me of, I don't know, maybe playing a game like StarCraft where someone has a decent amount of population, but a ton of it's just Zerglings where they can get splattered by splash damage. Although he's at 176 population, I'm not looking at this as like a terrifying army because Saturas' army is a lot of berserkers mostly. Yeah, mostly, almost only berserkers and a couple axe wielders mixed in. And I would guess that the population efficiency of berserkers is greater than that of tarantulas. But we'll see what Scrangos goes into. And I'm not saying that like it's a bad play, but you know, he's had so much food floating throughout the game that it makes sense to buy a lot of tarantulas. But as far as the difference in population limits, I don't think Saturas has too much to be afraid of right now. And I think he would have been able to maybe defend that if he committed to that fight there. But I should know that Saturas is still level 4 and Scrangos is 5, going on 6. Now, another reason that these Plague Beetles could be really powerful here for Scrangos is what's going to shoot them out of the air in this army. There's no anti-air attack other than this level 4 High Hierophant. And if you go Plague Beetles and you force him to shoot at the Plague Beetles with the High Hierophant, if he chooses to do so, that's more pressure that's taken off of the other units, the hero especially. And you can even use them to kite the High Hierophant around. Now, whoa. Okay, now this is what I was talking about with these spiders. They have negative hack resistance, so those axe wielders were destined to shred them. Okay. Saturas is level 6 now, whereas he was level 4, so... Man, that scatter shot. Oh my gosh. What do they call that? Shotgun, I guess is the nickname for that ability. Okay, so now the Plague Beetles, you know, there is some anti-air in the form of the Pyromancers, but they don't have incredibly long range. So definitely want to get to tier 3 and start producing some tier 3 units as a Dark Elf player here. We'll see what, okay, and as I say that, we've got Twisted Ones coming in. Scion, that's a tier 2 unit, but let's see where this goes. Pretty small army counts right now from both players. This has been a pretty good, you know, well-balanced game. A nice even matchup. And you know, the further you go into the, oh my gosh. Okay, that was the Scion upgrade paying off because Saturas probably could have gotten out of that if he just ran or if he teleported. And that Scion doing the knockdown secured that kill. So good stuff to Scrangos, making sure he's getting his upgrade there for the Scions. That was literally one Scion that he had sent out. I'm not sure if he had more mixed into the army earlier that I did not notice, but that one Scion being on the field, knocking down the High Hierophant, just got some pretty good value. And because the hero had just hit level 6, now he's got a longer respawn timer. So we'll see what the response is here. So Twisted Ones and Striders coming out. Players are still dead even on sector counts.
Brothers, get ready. There's work to be done.
I almost want to say that this favors Scrangos because he's got extra iron sectors. But I believe for tier 3, yeah, for tier 3, I'm not sure if his dwarves are all factions. These corner pieces that are basically opposite of the player capitals are where you're going to find the tier 3 resources. So, the Moon Silver, he's got 4 Moon Silver sectors, which is good in tier 3. If he wants to spam Pyromancers along with his Berserkers, he has the freedom to do so. And you can see he's floating Moon Silver more than he's got food. Now, I meant to say this earlier, and it's probably a little bit less relevant now, but actually, you know, maybe not so much because Striders are a thing. But for Scrangos, if you've been floating food throughout the game and feeling like you want to get rid of that, and you're kind of just throwing it into building a lot of tarantulas, let's see. So like this sector, and this sector. Get rid of all your farms here, and your hunting cabin here, and rebuild iron mines. And you can rebalance your economy that way and just produce more of those high quality units and get a little bit less tarantulas, because when Saturas was able to hit level 6, I think part of that was that there was probably 20 or 30 spiders in that battle. And if I were to rewind, or be able to rewind here and look at that, there was just gobs of those dead spiders, tarantulas on the ground. Now, that was easy experience for Saturas. And again, you went from almost level 5, still level 4, to level 6 within that one battle. And I do think a lot of that was just the spiders getting absolutely melted by, you know, the Berserkers, but also Saturas hitting level 5 with the High Hierophant and having, I believe the ability is called Barrage. Oh my god, he was so close. That was honestly, that was well calculated by Saturas. He just barely missed it, but you know, that's the kind of, like, those are good plays that once you get more precise with those are just like high value plays. Getting a port out where you escape right when you destroy the sector center. So I like to see that Saturas is making those attempts at those kind of plays, and he made some of those earlier in the game. So, you know, practice makes perfect. And what are we seeing right now? This is exactly what I was talking about earlier. You put pressure up here, you teleport down here, and you go to this sector instead of this one. And now Scrangos can't just immediately respond to that by teleporting into the Godstone behind your army. He had to teleport in and then run. Let's see how these heroes do. I would be careful with this Guardian of Nor. Just given how your front line's melting, and now you're going to be the target of all these units next. Especially with a bunch of Pyromancers and Berserkers mixed in with this. Twisted One's doing some damage in the back lines, but they don't have... I mean, this is like, this is where you run. This is where you run. When you've lost your army balance, I think you gotta back up, because oftentimes you'll have backline damage dealing units like Twisted Ones, or Striders that are kind of high cost units, and they deal a lot of damage, but they're really squishy in the sense that they have low health pool. When your front line of, you know, tarantulas, sleepers, whatever goes down, I think you abandon the fight and you get out of there, because now all that pressure of the front line soaking up damage, tanking damage, is all on your Guardian of Nor. Oh man, he got Saturas' hero, so I thought it would have been the other way around, but Chunky Boy right here, the Guardian of Nor. So he's still doing his thing. I mean, he's not going down. Although she might right now. Oh, I would have committed to that right there. Hindsight is 20/20 though. So now it looks like Saturas is just trying to keep Scrangos off of this sector. I would stay here. I would clear this out. And sorry for missing that, but it looked like he was, well, maybe not. Maybe he had a misordered Q. I thought he was attacking the iron sector, but there's no damage done to these buildings, and none of the workers are dead. So I'm not sure what that was, but Might have just had a bunch of units with a rally point somewhere up there and then moved them all down. Regardless, I like that Saturas stayed around. Sometimes you'll see with newer players or players who are not as aggressive, as soon as their hero goes down, they feel like they need to abandon ship and just get out of there with the rest of their army. But Saturas got good value out of that. And, you know, given the population count, he has the ability to take this game. When you have an army of this size, you want to keep applying pressure, even if your hero's gone. And you can always run away from combat if you think you don't have what it takes to take on the other player's army. It looks like he might be going to apply pressure here, which is good. So one thing that's unique about Spellforce that is not always the same in a lot of RTS games is with the unit variety, there's not a lot of differential in unit speed. And so, you know, when you run into an engagement, oh, this Guardian Nor might be going down here. Survived. So let's see how this unit targeting is. And I think Scrangos is just done now. This 200 pop dwarf army is just going to snowball and keep taking advantageous fights. If you're Scrangos right now, as soon as you've seen this death ball forming up, and like these berserkers take up a lot of population, so you know, same thing with pyromancers. As soon as you see this big army, I would avoid all engagements. Try to build up one last push, and maybe even go until you're pop capped. Although that's not even 200 at this point. But don't send in units and try to save a sector like this. Find somewhere safe that you can amass a horde of units, and just try to make, you know, a kind of Braveheart style last stand. But I mean that's gonna be so hard to do. Look at this army composition: berserkers and pyromancers, and that's it. That's it. That's an efficient army right now for Saturas, and he's going for the throat. He's going for that last sector. Kind of going in single file line here, just with the unit pathing, but yeah, there's just not so much you can do as Scrangos. See if they ever equip their items. This is probably close to over. Yeah, Scrangos got his armor and his shield on, but Saturas still hadn't done this. So I mean, imagine if he had his armor and his level 3 weapon equipped. He might have won even earlier, but this is going to be game. That was an entertaining match. Saturas definitely started to run away with things. Probably I would say around after the 20-minute mark or so, if my memory serves me. But that was an even game. There was a lot of action, interesting harassment and army movement from both players. You know, I did say that I would have preferred Saturas getting some golems out for siege at some point, but his strategy worked. So well played. Take a look at the post-game stats. Good amount of units produced. Obviously going for quantity over quality, quality over quantity. Part of that was Scrangos was floating a lot of food there. Quality paid off in this case. Doesn't always. Very similar production. Good damage dealt by both heroes. It's a long game, you know. Let's see what else. Anything interesting on the graphs? I mean, geez, this was. I want to say this was the fight that Scrangos lost near the iron sector. Maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking of the one that was around here where he lost all those spiders, but pretty painful engagements there. See, resources owned kind of flipped there. Right, pretty quick tier 3 for the dwarf. Pretty even though start for them. And this was okay, so this is the one I was talking about. This is where all those spiders went down, the tarantulas went down in that big fight over the iron sector. So around the 22-minute mark. Anyways, so that is game 1 for Saturas. So 1-0 lead in the series. Again, this is the best of 3. So we'll get into the next one. And well played to both players. Definitely a fun watch for me.